Okay, hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 4th of June 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday's morning session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here very quickly is just to give a quick update on the ASX200, so the Australian index. So basically, this was the idea that we threw out here on the 23rd of May, and this was basically our idea. We were bearish on this one. Excuse me, and as you can see, the index actually exceeded our expectations here, and exceeded our target and drifted a little bit lower. Now it tested this tentative upside support line, and the reason why I'm saying that it's a bit of a tentative one is because it's kind of only has two touches, or well, of course it did have two touches by lately, but before that, yeah, it was a bit of a tentative one, so it did get a nice touch. So the index managed to drift lower, broke this upside support line, but actually now it's trading back above it. So in a way, of course, let's clean up our chart a little bit here. So what we can do, we will keep a close eye on this one. Of course, on one side, yes, it did travel higher, it traveled back above this upside support line, but on the other hand, it remains here, looking at this 4-hour chart, it remains below its 200 EMA. So of course this is kind of still it could be seen as a bearish indication, but the only thing is, for us now, in order to, let's say, consider further declines, ideally we would like to see a drop below these recent lows here near the 6,303, or in other words, you can in a way round it up towards just the 6,300 and wait for a break below that. If we do see a break below this, then yep, our next potential target could be around here. Let me just quickly adjust this level here. So this is going to be our target, initial target near the 6,242 zone, 43, something like that. And slightly below that, of course, we do have this the lowest point of May, which is around the 6,204 area, approximately 6,205. Let's make it a nice round number, nice beautiful number. Basically, so this is going to be our aim for the downside, but only if we see a drop below the recent lows here, near the 6,300 level. So a drop below that could open the path towards lower areas, as it would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and yep, more sellers could start joining in here. Now in terms of the upside, again, as I said earlier, it is now back above this tentative upside support line, but the only thing is that still kind of focus on the word tentative. So if we see a push back above the 200 EMA, that's great. We could aim maybe a little bit higher, but the only thing is that still for us, what we'll do here is we'll wait for at least a push back above the 6,365 area, approximately there, and which marks the low of the 30th of May. So if we do see a push above it, then, well, this could increase the chances for the Australian index to travel higher and maybe even go back towards the 6,415 level, which was the high of the 30th of May. But if that fails to withhold, now this is where it could become exciting again for more buyers, as it could open the path towards higher levels. Now we will then aim maybe for the 6,500 level, but again, for now, for now, let's keep it short and simple. In terms of the upside, keep your eyes on the 6,365 level here, and on the downside, just wait for confirmation break below the 6,300 level, and then we could aim for slightly lower levels. DXY, now I talked about this one yesterday, and this is what I was saying. We were still trading above this upside support line, but yesterday I talked about this one in the morning and in the evening in my traders tea time. In traders tea time, the index managed to get back towards this upside support line. So initially in the morning, we saw this one retracing back to the upside, but you can see that this is what happened. So we did get the disappointing ISM numbers from ISM manufacturing PMI numbers from US, and as you can see, after the number came out lower than expected, the dollar index took a hit here and slid lower. Now the area where it found good support, and let me just adjust this quickly here, this is where it found good support. It found good support near this area, near the 97.15 level, so we're going to keep a close eye on it. 15, 14, something like that. So in a way, it almost reached our target here near the 97 barrier. But what could happen here is, as you can see, the index is already trading quite below the pivot here. The pivot is around the 97.38 zone. So in a way, we could see maybe a small correction back to the upside here. But if it struggles to push above the pivot, then we could see another leg of selling, and this is where we could aim for the 97 zone. But of course, do not exclude a possibility here, a straightaway drop below the 97.14 level here, and then we could aim for this 97 straight away. So in a way, it could not recover here and just kind of slide further straight away. But again, we will wait for that confirmation break here before we could assume that. We need to see that nice good drop below the 97.14 in order to kind of, let's say, aim for the 97 zone. And in terms of the upside here, from the very short-term perspective, what you could do only for today is watch this little area where the index found some resistance here near the 97.24 area, 23, something like that. So if we do get a nice push above it, then yep, it could open the path towards this pivot. So keep your eyes on this one. Keep your eyes on this very tight range. Could prove to be an interesting trade. Ripple, very quickly on this one. So Ripple took a hit and sold off and managed to drop below this upside support line, the short-term upside support line taken from the low of the 11th of May. And as you can see now, it managed to reach one of our targets here near the 0.3960, from which it rebounded, and now it's kind of balancing here just slightly above the psychological 0.40 level. Now in a way, for us, in order to, let's say, aim for higher levels again, well, ideally you need to see a push back above the 0.4185 and of course this upside support line. Only then we will aim for higher areas. For now, given that it broke this upside support line and broke the 0.4185 level, we may see, even if we see a bit of correction here back to the upside, still this could be short-lived, and we could see another round of selling. Initially we will aim for the area here near the 0.3960, the 200 EMA of course here on the 4-hour chart, and then eventually we will be targeting the 0.3762-63 area, approximately there. So for now, keep your eyes on this. Of course, this is now a little bit more to the bearish side, leaning of course, but again, let's say if this suddenly reverses sharply and travels back above the upside support line, this could give some hope for the bulls. GBPCHF, a very interesting pair here. Of course, you can see, and for those who, or should I say, the GBPCHF bulls really took a hit here in May, and I mean, you can see how bad the slide was, and yep, we could. It seems that there is no turning kind of up here, any point where it tried to find some good support, still it got broken and then traveled lower. So as you can see, this was the area, nice area that we were keeping a close eye on. It was balancing around it, slightly above it, and it was trading below. It continues to trade below this downside resistance line here. So in a way, what we're going to do here for the upside, we're going to take a very conservative approach and wait until we see a push back above the 1.2676 area, approximately there, because this way the rate could break this downside resistance line, of course, taken from the high of the 8th of May, and then, just like I said, for that better confirmation, ideally a break above the 1.2676 area, 77, something like that, approximately there, could be that nice gateway towards slightly higher levels. And we're not going to go crazy on this one to the upside, because, to be honest, the pound is still vulnerable, and yep, we could see some more slides later on. But again, for now, just talking from the very short-term perspective, it did find some support near this level here, near the 125.55 zone. So this is what we're going to be keeping a close eye on for today. The problem here is that, yes, it still looks bearish. It's trading below its pivot, but of course this is just early morning yet now, so everything might turn around. But if this drops below the 1.2555 level, now this is where we will aim for much lower areas. Initially we will target the 1.25 zone here, approximately there, and if that fails to withhold, the next potential target could be around the 1.2445. And just to show you what those levels were here in the past, basically the 1.25, it's just a nice psychological number, and the 1.24, and actually let me just adjust the 1.24 just to this low here. So basically that good, this is bringing it a little bit further down towards the 1.2415 area, something like that. So good potential target as well. So instead of the 1.2445, we're going to aim for the 1.2415. But again, we need to see, initially we need to see a drop below these recent lows near the 1.2555 zone. So keep your eyes on this one. Jumping into AUDUSD. Now, I talked about this one yesterday and last week as well. So basically, initially we broke above this 0.6937 level. Good, that's a good sign. It was a good sign for the bulls. The bulls kept pushing this one higher, pushing above the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. This morning, it did receive a small boost here, even though the RBA did cut the interest rate by 25 basis points. That was already, the market was already pricing that in, and basically we saw this one in a way in an opposite reaction, where an Aussie dollar kind of traveled higher. It's now sitting above its 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. That's of course good news. In a way, there still could be some room for a bit of upside, maybe all the way here towards the psychological 0.70 level, just for a quick test, and then we'll take it from there. Because again, if the China-US trade dispute continues, this is the currency that is kind of vulnerable to it. So in a way, we could see something like this happening. So that's why, guys, be very careful with the upside. Certainly we are going to be aiming a little bit higher, but again, be very cautious with that, because any news or any headlines or any negative headlines, I would say, surrounding the trade dispute between China and US could affect this pair. And last pair for this session is the euro dollar. Just a quick update on this one. So yesterday I talked about this one, and I was still saying that we were, well, by the time when I was talking about this, when we're still trading below this downside resistance line, it's a bit of a tentative one, but what I was saying, that we need to see a clear break above the 1.1215 before we could examine the upside. And still, what I said is that we're not going to go crazy on this one. We're only going to target the 1.1216 60 65 zone, approximately there. So as you can see, this is where the rate got held. It's currently getting held there as well. So in a way, this kind of confirms this nice little range here that the pair is trading in since around the end of April, and this range is between roughly the 1.1110 and the 1.1260 zone here on the upside. In a way, we need to see a clear break and ideally a close at least of a 4-hour candle above this 1.1260 zone before we could examine further higher levels. For now, we're going to just remain cautious on this one. Yes, it is trying to push higher, but then again, like I said, we may get a false breakout. But if the 4-hour candle is not able to close above this, then we could expect maybe a small correction back down a little bit. So maybe even going towards the 1.1215 again. So for now, keep your eyes on this one. If this, of course, if the pair drops back below this downside resistance line, then, or in other words, let me just put a level here. If it drops below this area near the 1.1190, then, well, this is where it could interest the bears again, and we could see this one sliding further down. But for now, of course, it is somewhat more positive than negative. The only thing is that we're still going to remain very cautious in this one, and wait for that confirmation break and a close above the 1.1260 level. So keep your eyes on this one. Okay, guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching until the end. And if you want to join me later on at my Traders Tea Time, as always, that's 13:15 GMT time. For now, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.